Welcome to NarrativeNook audio tales where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
It's late. You should stop, or it's going to hurt your eyes, said Jasper. It was already 11. Willow's eyes were getting sore. She took out a bottle of eye drops and handed it to Jasper. Can you help me with this, Jasper? Jasper got up and sat on the edge of her bed. She was in a set of pink cotton pajamas. For some reason, her skin shone with a healthy sheen when she was wearing pink. She looked so delectable. Willow had a pair of big, beautiful eyes that were clean and innocent like an infant's. Jasper dropped a few eye drops into her eyes, and Willow quickly snapped her peepers shut. She had an animated look on her face, and her lips were shut tightly. Jasper stared at her lustrous lips. They smelled so sweet and inviting. When Willow snapped her eyes open, Jasper quickly looked away, his breathing laborious. Do you want a few drops of this? It's good. No. Come on. Just lie down. Willow pushed him down on the bed and tried to drop some eye drops into his eye. Jasper couldn't bear to dampen her enthusiasm, so he lay down. Willow was inches away, staring at him. You have beautiful eyes. She then dropped some eye drops into his eyes. While his eyes were closed, Willow kept staring at his face. He then opened his eyes, but Willow already had her fill. She then looked at his Adam's apple and touched it. Jasper's eyes went wide. What is she doing? Don't touch it, he said. I've never touched a guy's Adam's apple before. I want to know how it feels. Willow was observing him curiously, like he was a work of art. Don't touch anyone else's throat, got it? Jasper stood up. I don't like touching anyone else's throat. Only yours, said Willow before she got back to her bed. Just sleep. You must be tired. There was no way he could sleep. Jasper pulled the blanket over to cover up his crotch. She has no idea how much she just riled me up. Morning came, and Willow woke up. She looked at Jasper's bed, but he was not around. She then looked outside the window and saw a few islands on the horizon. They were finally at their next destination. She left her room, and a bodyguard approached her. Do you need anything, miss? It's all right. I'm looking for someone. Have you seen Mr. Wyatt? He went to the islands an hour ago. Alone? Willow was shocked, and then she got worried. With your team leader. They're on a recon mission, assured the bodyguards. Even so, Willow still looked at the islands in worry, hoping that Jasper would come back soon. Because of Winston's orders, the ship was not allowed to approach the islands until he and Jasper came back with enough intelligence. Barely anyone had explored these islands before, so they had to make sure they were safe, not to mention there could be pirates around, so they had to check their surroundings for any dangers. Willow couldn't stay still, so she kept visiting the control room. Finally, at 3 in the afternoon, they established contact with Winston. Are you there, Captain? What's the situation? A member asked. Yeah. We need to check around for a couple more hours, but tell everyone there's nothing to worry about. We'll be back in a flash. Willow quickly took the pager. Is Jasper there, Captain? Hello, Willow. Yeah, he's with me. Let me talk to him, said Willow. A familiar voice quickly said, I'm fine. Just like that, Willow felt a weight getting taken off her shoulders, and she smiled. You have to tell me before you leave next time. Sure, said Jasper. Dusk came, and Winston called them once more, telling the ship's operator to dock at the pier and that everyone could disembark now. The seas were slightly turbulent at night, so the ship was not the best place to rest. Willow packed her things up and turned around only to almost crash into the guy behind her, but she was delighted. You're back. Yeah. I'm here to help you with your luggage. Jasper looked at her gently. Willow felt a surge of warmth in her heart. She loved that he cared about her so much. Jasper took all her luggage aside from her little backpack. They set up camp at a spot that was clean and where the walls of the mountain would block out any winds. The team members and bodyguards were setting up their tents as well. Johanna came over and asked, "Miss, it can be dangerous at night. Should I stay in the same tent as you?" Willow blinked. She knew Johanna well, but when it came to sleep, Willow had a habit of not sharing a bed unless she acknowledged them enough to even hug them without any reservations. Aside from her family, there was only one person who fit the bill right now. She turned her sights to Jasper, who was helping out, and her face turned red. She said, I'd like to stay with Mr. Wyatt, Johanna." Johanna was surprised. The head of the Presgrave family did allow them to be in the same room, but not in a tent. That was a lot smaller than a room. "I don't think that's a good idea, miss. The tent's a bit small." "I don't mind." Willow stared at Jasper, wondering how she could convince him into sharing a tent with her. Johanna looked at the young lady. It was obvious Willow only had eyes for Jasper, and she sighed. "He's so lucky. This is the first time I've seen her have so much affection for a man." "Then I'll—" Willow stopped her. "No. Don't tell Dad about it. Do not notify him about my plan, and keep this a secret," said Willow imperiously. If her father were to know of this, he would stop her at all costs. "But—" "No buts. You're with me now, so you're going to listen to me," said Willow. "And Jasper's a gentleman. He won't do anything to me. The other way around, however. She did it before back then, she hugged him all she wanted. He was the only one she was willing to share a tent with." Johanna nodded. "I'll have to make sure a few of us get a tent beside them. If Jasper tries anything funny, we'll kill him." 12 tents were set up a while later, and then the members started talking about who would get which tent. The ladies would share tents, while the men would talk about tent sharing with other guys they got along with. It was then Winston realized Willow was still quiet. Given her special status, he knew she wouldn't share a tent with anyone. He pointed at a tent. "That one's yours, Willow. You can take it all for yourself." "But I don't want to stay by myself. I'd be scared. I need someone to share a tent with," she said. So who do you have in mind?" Winston asked curiously. "Must be a lady or her bodyguard." "Him." Willow pointed at Jasper. Shocked, Winston looked around, but there were no ladies around Jasper. "So that means she wants Jasper to stay with her?" "That can't do, Willow. Mr. Wyatt is a guy." "It'll make things awkward," Winston said. Willow smiled and looked at Jasper. "Care to share a tent with me?" Jasper frowned and peered at Willow. "I can take the tent beside yours." "Ha, so he's bothered." "I knew it." Willow frowned. "No. I'm scared of the dark. What if there are snakes? Who's going to save me if I'm alone?" Winston coughed. "Willow, the tents are anti-snake, so the snakes won't be a bother." "No. We're right out here in the wilds. What if there are ghosts?" Willow made up another excuse. Fortunately, all the other members had gone away, so only the bodyguards and a few people remained. "Take the biggest tent, then. It should be easier to sleep in." Winston finally realized that Willow would not stop until she could share a tent with Jasper. There was no way to stop her now. Jasper heaved a sigh and nodded in silence. Only then did Willow smile. When Winston walked past Jasper, he whispered, "Take care of her, Mr. Wyatt. He's so lucky." Speechless, the bodyguards quickly exchanged tents with the other team members who had chosen tents near Willow so they could be as near to Willow as possible. It was as if they didn't trust Jasper. Either way, their only job for this trip was to make sure Willow was safe. The days were long on this island. Even though it was already 8, the sky hadn't fully darkened yet. Everyone had their dinner and happily chatted. Some even strolled around and took a few photos. Willow too was captivated by the island's scenery. Holding Jasper's arm, she asked, "Care to stroll with me?" Jasper pulled his hand back, much to Willow's surprise. "He doesn't want me holding his arm?" Then, he held her hand. He wanted to hold hands, and that realization doused Willow's consternation. She and Jasper made their way to the beach. There wasn't anyone there, so silence was their company. Stars shone in the sky, the moon smiling gently at the sands. The sea was peaceful as well. All seemed right. Willow was at peace too. Nothing needed to be said. An exchange of silent looks was enough to tell them what they were feeling. Then, Willow noticed a shooting star hurtling through the sky. "Is that a shooting star?" She let go of Jasper's hand. Surprised, Jasper looked back and saw Willow holding her hands together in prayer as she made her wish. Her chin was resting on the tip of her fingers, and silvery moonlight shone on her face. Her hair tumbled down to her waist. She looked like a devout believer praying to the goddess of the moon. Jasper's heart was captivated. Willow quickly made a silent wish and opened her eyes. She looked at the disappearing shooting star and turned to Jasper, then she laughed. Jasper narrowed his eyes. "So, what kind of wish did you make?" "Can't say it, or it won't come true." Willow arched her eyebrow. She could tell anyone else about the wish, but not Jasper. The wish she made was about him, after all. She wished for a life of peace, health, and serenity for him. He was in a dangerous line of work, so that was the wish she made the moment she closed her eyes. "Oh, the tide's rising. Time to go back." Jasper held her hand and went back to the tents. Everyone had gone to sleep as they were exhausted. Of course, some were still awake, and they saw Willow and Jasper together. They didn't say anything. Those two looked like a perfect couple, after all. Willow was gorgeous, but the lads on the team would never dare to court her. They didn't want to cross the Presgraves, after all. There was no way the Presgraves would marry their princess off to a commoner, and with Jasper around, there was no way the lads could gain her attention. He had the looks, physique, and charisma to woo any woman he wanted. Besides, the lads admired Jasper too. They too wanted to become a man like Jasper. He was a powerful man, and none would try to even woo the woman he wanted, or he might just beat them up. Thanks to that, the lads were always polite to Willow. The ladies liked Jasper, but they didn't show it. With Willow around, he would never pay attention to anyone else. This was the perfect romance, they thought. They had feelings for each other. The team members thought Willow was here for the romance, while work was second fiddle. Willow came back to the tent. It was a military-grade tent, so there was no need to worry about snakes or mice sneaking in. However, when Jasper came in, the tent felt a lot smaller. Willow pursed her lips, but she couldn't hold back her excitement. Unbeknownst to Jasper, Willow's bodyguards were outside, wide awake. They were watching the silhouettes projected by the light of the lamp. The two had some distance between them, but then they noticed one of the silhouettes slowly moving toward the other, and it was Willow herself. Because of that, the bodyguards looked away and stood sentry. The temperature difference between day and night was a gulf. It was about 90 degrees in the morning but only about 60 at night. That night in particular was freezing. It was about 50 degrees out there, and a lot of the team members slept in each other's arms. Willow had thick layers of clothes on, but even so, she still felt cold, and the chill was slithering into her clothing. "Let's get some sleep," she told Jasper. "You first." Jasper turned the lights off. He knew the people outside could see what they were doing through the silhouette's movements. Darkness swallowed the tent, and a hint of mischief flashed in Willow's eyes. She leaped into Jasper's arms and quickly pushed him down. Caught by surprise, Jasper fell down, and he hoarsely said, "Don't do this, Willow." "I won't, but only if you sleep with me," Willow whispered. "I'm a guy, and you're a lass. Gender means nothing in your line of work, does it? You'd stay in the same hotel room with your partner even if she was a woman, wouldn't you?" Willow grumbled. She hadn't forgotten about that at all. It was a sweet. "Well, what if you were forced to stay in a single room with her? How would you two sleep?" Willow continued to grumble. Jasper couldn't believe she would be hung up on this matter, and he was speechless. "Just think of me as your partner. Don't be shy." Willow chuckled and slid away from his embrace. She pulled the blanket up and covered themselves with it, then wrapped her arm around his waist and put her leg on top of his human pillow. Jasper tensed up. "She gets really friendly with me, doesn't she? This is how I sleep. I have a big teddy bear at home too." Willow adjusted her position a little and whispered, "Honestly, your muscles are too hard. Bit bumpy. Hey, you're using me as a pillow, and you're complaining? But you feel warmer," she praised. "Then sleep and say nothing," said Jasper. "Sure, you close your eyes and sleep too." Willow closed her eyes. The girl was a late bloomer, so romance in the physical sense was a vague concept for her still. She liked Jasper a lot, but she hadn't developed any urge to devour him just yet. That was bad news for Jasper. Willow was millimeters away from him, and the air smelled like her. Even when his eyes were closed, Jasper could still smell her. His breathing quickened, and he almost hyperventilated. Willow was a carefree girl, so she fell asleep quickly even when she was holding Jasper. She had been worried about him the whole day, and now that they were safe, the tension melted away to exhaustion and she soon dozed off. He was hyper-aware of her chest resting on his arm. Jasper carefully turned to his side to sleep. Willow had her head resting against his arm, and she was sleeping like a child. Jasper could still see her clearly, and a smile curled his lips. It was his first time seeing a girl sleeping so soundly. He was almost envious of her sleep quality. Silence slowly took over as the team members fell asleep as well. Jasper quietly tucked Willow in and made sure the blanket clung to her and kept her warm. After that, he came out of the tent. The bodyguards were also patrolling as well, and they gave him a look of approval. They too used to be in the military, so they knew Jasper was a reliable man, and a powerful one at that too. "I'll check the perimeter," Jasper muttered. A bodyguard handed him a coat. "Take this." Jasper took it, draped the coat over himself, and went patrolling. Now, the bodyguards could finally rest. Willow slept soundly, the blanket keeping Jasper's warmth alive for her. When she woke up, the sun was already shining brightly, so brightly that she opened her eyes. She then looked around and noticed the lack of a certain man called Jasper. Willow touched her lips. "Wonder if I drooled." She came out and saw Jasper by the beach. Johanna came up to Willow with some water to wash her face and a bit of warm water for her to drink. "Had a good night's sleep?" Johanna asked. "That I did." Willow smiled. Her skin glistened under the sun, her eyes brimming with life. Obviously, she had a good night's sleep. Everyone had their breakfast, and it was only 7 in the morning. Winston made some arrangements, and the team started exploring the island to see if they could find anything pertaining to the ancient ship. Archaeology was a delicate art. They could rely on modern equipment for their expeditions, but they still needed human touch for their work. Jasper and Willow were a team, and everyone else had bodyguards with them while they searched the mountains. Johanna was taking care of Willow as best as she could. At this point, she was more like a nanny. The bodyguard made sure Willow was fed and not thirsty. Whenever she sweated, Johanna would wipe it away. She also made sure the sun wasn't burning Willow. Jasper saw everything. Boy, her family really takes care of her. They might support her endeavor, but they're taking all the steps necessary to keep her safe. Everyone climbed up a hill. Should Willow falter, Jasper would hold her hand or just pick her up and go through the hurdle. Thanks to him, Willow reached the top of the hill easily. "Oh, there's a cave. Let's check it out," said Winston as he happily went ahead. Willow followed as well. Archaeology done in this manner would mean a considerable time and energy investment, but if they could find an artifact, it would well be worth it. Winston stopped in front of the cave. He noticed a big freshwater pond lying underneath the cave, and there were a lot of little caverns around it. The pond is about 16 feet deep, but the boulders around the pond seem ancient. This is a rare find. If someone had found it before us, they would have left some evidence. Let's check it out. Gather the team members. We need to investigate the place first. The team members came over with their gear and rappelled down the cave. When it was Willow's turn, Jasper held the rope with one hand and extended his other hand to her. "I'll take you." Willow nodded. While Jasper was wrapping his arm around her waist, she clasped her legs around his waist and clung onto him like an octopus. The ladies were envious. Jasper took her down into the cave. Some members were already investigating the place, so she joined them. "I found something. Look at this. It doesn't seem like anything modern." A member noticed some copper items around the pond. Winston went over and picked it up. "Looks like something between the 10th and 13th century. Our guess is right on the money. The trade ships did pass this area and left a mark." That raised everyone's morale. This finding alone was monumental for them, and they had more vigor to search the place now. The discovery came quickly, but it was welcome. A while later, another member fished out some shards from the pond as well. This proved one thing: the fleet must have stopped at these islands, and the sailors must have stayed near the pond. The team worked until dusk before they went back to their camp. Jasper took Willow back up, of course. All the other ladies had to climb the ropes and get their hands burned a little, but Willow didn't have to. Everyone came back to the camp and talked about their discovery with vigor. A big tent with glow-in-the-dark stars stuck to the roof was set up so everyone could take a break and get into a discussion there. They even brought out some alcohol to celebrate, though everyone only had a little to help them sleep. Willow saw that her favorite red wine was available, so she asked for a glass. "To a smooth expedition." "Cheers." Winston stood up and raised his glass, then everyone did the same and drank their concoction. Willow took a sip and looked at Jasper, who had taken a seat on the chair outside. She asked him to join them, but he didn't. Everyone was relaxed, but it was all the more reason for Jasper to be on guard. He was in charge of everyone's safety, and he was a more cautious person to begin with. From time to time, Jasper would look at Willow, who was having fun with the team, and tenderness would appear in his eyes. Every smile, every gesture, and every glance she threw his way was enough to comfort his lonely heart. Willow didn't watch how much she was drinking, and she downed 2 glasses of wine. After that, she approached Jasper and handed him a bottle of water. "Why didn't you join us for a drink?" "I don't like to drink." Jasper took the bottle, opened it up, and finished half of the water. Willow sat beside him and requested the bottle. He handed it over, and she drank from the same place Jasper did, not caring that his lips had touched the bottle. Jasper looked at her, his eyes glinting, and a hint of delight flared in his heart. What a happy day. We discovered clues faster than we thought we would. It means we must be really close to the thing we're trying to find, said Willow happily. Congrats. Jasper was happy for her. Willow's eyes were filled with excitement and a misty look, no doubt elicited by the alcohol. She rested her chin on her hand and looked at Jasper. "I'm so happy I get to see the moon, the stars, and the sea with you. What an honor." She didn't say she liked him outright, but her sentiments were proof enough that she really liked his company. Jasper looked at her in silence. "This is going to be a great memory for us," said Willow. The guys at the grill came to her with a plate of grilled meat and greens. She never had this kind of food at home, for her father would not allow it. Her eyes twinkled. "Smells nice." She picked up a kebab and handed it to Jasper. "Dig in." Jasper took it and munched on it as they gazed at the moon. Willow picked up a pork belly skewer and gulped down 2 slices. She thought they were a bit too greasy. She never liked the fattier slices of meat, but she didn't want to waste food, so she asked, "I don't like fatty slices of meat. Do you want them?" She could have tossed the skewer away, but she didn't. Jasper looked at her and took the unfinished food, then he dug into it. Willow thought it was sweet and she smiled at him. "You don't seem to mind that it's half eaten by me." Jasper looked at her. "Wasting food is bad." Willow chuckled. "So, you'll eat any leftovers?" Jasper answered, "Only yours." Willow felt a little accomplished, seeing that he wasn't averse to eating her leftovers. She picked up a vegetable skewer and bit down on it. "I love this feeling." While everyone was taking a break, Yosemite feigned exhaustion. "Man, my back hurts. I'm exhausted. I have to lie down." "Get some rest, Yosemite," a lady said. Yosemite pretended to be drunk and wobbled as he got up. Another team member held him, but he waved them down and shuffled toward his tent. The moment he got into his tent, the dazed look in his eyes disappeared. The spy whipped out his laptop and plugged in a portable Wi-Fi device, then he logged into his account and saw a few messages for him. He sent the correspondent some photos of the copper item shards. They were online too, and they texted, "Looks like something between the 10th and 13th century. Guess you found the right place. Our guess is that the fleet probably had a short stay here, but we're not sure if this is where the shipwreck is," Yosemite said. He wasn't even keeping any secrets. "Is that so? But with this discovery, you'll be finding more clues soon. I'll be sending my men over. Keep us updated at all times." I don't think that's a good idea." Yosemite was shocked. He thought he would just have to give them updates, but now they wanted to send a team over? "This pertains to the search for an artifact. If anything goes wrong, we might come home without a single shard of the item. Moreover, you're out on the open sea. It belongs to no nation. If we get there first, we have the right to take everything for ourselves. You won't hurt us, will you?" Yosemite quickly asked. "You won't try to stop us?" "Well, I make no guarantees," said the correspondent. It was a thinly veiled threat. Yosemite shivered. He knew this guy was an antique smuggler, but he didn't know he had the mafia backing him up. Scared, he quickly shut his laptop, his mind plunged into chaos. After all, he was still one of the nation's archaeologists. All he wanted was to make some quick cash, but now he had a feeling he just got involved with someone he should never cross. He smacked the back of his head, regretting his actions, but it was too late. He had told them their location. Regret wouldn't stop them from trying to take the artifact for themselves. No one in the team had realized that their tracks were leaked, not even Willow. A while later, everyone was starting to get sleepy, including Willow, who yawned. Her eyelids were starting to droop, and she leaned on Jasper. "I'm going into the tent. Don't stay out too late. I can't sleep without you by my side." Jasper was amused. "She's getting dependent on me." "Sure, I'll be there in a minute. But it feels good to be needed." 15 minutes later, Jasper went back to the ship and took a shower, then he came back and unzipped the tent's entrance. He was met with a fast-asleep Willow. He let out an annoyed sigh. Thought you couldn't sleep without me. Still, with the bodyguard standing sentry, he could have a good night's sleep. Jasper snuggled into his spot and rested his head on his arm. Feeling his presence, Willow rolled over, and Jasper pulled her into his embrace so she could rest her head on his arm. In no time, Willow was holding him like a pillow once again, but this time, she placed her leg higher on his body, almost touching his crown jewels. Jasper's breathing got faster. He tried to push her leg down a little, but Willow was a beast when she was asleep. Having her sleep disturbed annoyed her. She let out a moan of protest and placed her leg even higher, pressing down on Jasper's willy. Well, that was awkward. At this moment, Willow's leg directly pressed against Jasper's crotch. As he drew a deep breath, his lingering drowsiness was dispelled by her unexpected actions. Yet, with each sigh that escaped his lips, he held on to the hope that, in due time, she might retract her leg from his body. His intuition proved correct. As she lay there, she sensed an uneasy presence brushing against her calf, prompting her to roll onto her side. With a deep exhale of relief, he felt a soothing comfort wash over him. Then, he drew her into a tender embrace, their bodies fitting together like a perfectly arched bow. Unexpectedly, she turned her head again, ending up face to face with him. Their faces hovered mere inches apart, and a delicate exhale from Willow grazed Jasper's jawline as her cheek gently met his profile. Hence, he closed his eyes and felt helpless at this moment. However, she thought that this position was uncomfortable, so she turned her back to him, and her bottom ended up directly against his sensitive area, snugly fitting on it. His once placid breath now quickened as if caught in a race against time. Does she know how to sleep? She changed her sleeping position 5 times in just a few minutes. It wasn't entirely Willow's fault, for she was used to sleeping on a top-of-the-line mattress worth hundreds of thousands. Now, she had to sleep on a hard mat, so how could she be comfortable? Naturally, she kept searching for a comfortable sleeping position. Feeling helpless, Jasper decided to sleep on the boat instead. As he was about to get up, a slender arm wrapped around his neck, making him lean down. A warm and alluring face drew near in that fleeting moment, and her ruby lips teasingly grazed the corner of his lips. As this gentle caress graced him, an electrifying wave of sensation surged through his entire being, enveloping him in a tingling euphoria. With their breaths so close, she felt a tickle at her nose, so she softly nuzzled against his face. In this tender moment, she exuded the enchanting allure of a coquettish cat, rendering him utterly defenseless. At this instant, Jasper's remarkable endurance and self-control saved him from surrendering to the tempting urge to kiss Willow. Then, with a gentle whisper, he implored, "Willow, sleep properly." In that instant, her eyes fluttered open, and her surprise was evident in the hazy glint that met the sight of the handsome face hovering nearby. She blinked and quickly withdrew her arm around his neck, instinctively creating a bit of space between them. Under the soft glow of the dim moonlight, their eyes met, and at that moment, her cheeks flushed with a mix of emotions. She couldn't help but wonder, what did I just do to him? Get some sleep. I'll go out for some fresh air, Jasper whispered before leaving. Yet, the thought of letting him go was inconceivable. The mere idea of being awake at this hour without him by her side filled Willow with genuine fear. Thus, she summoned her courage and gently pressed her hands against his chest, firmly pinning him down. Amidst the darkness, he found himself helplessly overpowered by her, his back firmly pinned to the mat. The dim lighting couldn't hide the unmistakable surprise that flickered in his eyes. Only in that fleeting moment, after a subtle blink, she fully grasped the unintended consequences of her actions upon him. Feeling awkward, Willow didn't know whether to get up or continue to press Jasper down. Her exquisitely beautiful, tiny face hovered just a breath away from his, and her eyes glimmered, revealing a smile she couldn't conceal. Suddenly, her long hair cascaded provocatively on his chest, caressing his skin with the grace of a feather, evoking a delightful flutter in his heart. Amidst a throaty whisper, he entreated, "Go to sleep." In a soft, mumbled voice, she confessed, "I can't." Her plea followed, laced with vulnerability. "Don't go. I'm scared." "I won't go, but could you let me go?" He couldn't bear her pressing herself on him like that. After a subtle nod, Willow rolled over to Jasper's side and propped herself up with her elbow as she observed him. Strangely, the air around them seemed to have grown warmer, as if a gentle caress of heat enveloped them. She wondered if someone had secretly turned on the heat. On a whim, Willow touched Jasper's forehead, detecting a subtle warmth that piqued her concern. Leaning closer, she inquired with that hint of worry, "You're so warm. Are you sick?" "Sick? It's all because of you." "No, it's just too stuffy here," he murmured, trying not to blame anyone or anything. Then, she extended her hand again to cautiously gauge his forehead's temperature. "Right. He's not running a fever. He's just sweating." "You should go outside for some fresh air," she suggested, not wanting him to feel uncomfortable. Willow's words had an instant effect, propelling Jasper to his feet, and he walked out. With his departure came a gust of cold air, but undeterred, she swiftly claimed his vacated place, basking in the lingering warmth he had left behind. When he stepped outside, a sudden gust of icy wind embraced him. Suddenly, his keen eyes caught sight of a boat emerging from the misty sea, steadily drawing closer to the island. In an instant, he darted back to the equipment storage, grabbed the binoculars, and eagerly trained them on the approaching vessel. Sure enough, it was heading straight for the same island he now stood upon. His face creased with concern, and he hurriedly approached Winston's tent, saying, "There's a boat approaching. Wake everyone up." There's urgency in his voice. Then, Winston cast off his drowsiness and sprang to his feet. As anticipated, he spotted the flickering of distant boat lights and wasted no time rousing his fellow team members. At the sound of the commotion, Willow emerged from her tent, too, curious to know what was going on. A female team member informed her, "There's a strange boat approaching. The captain wants us all to wake up." Willow was startled upon hearing this, and questions whirled in her mind. Why would there be a boat coming here? Could it be a pirate ship? What kind of boat is it? "Is it a pirate ship?" a female team member asked nervously. "Don't worry. My bodyguards will ensure everyone's safety," Willow reassured with that gentle smile. After saying this, she approached Jasper, who reached out and pulled her protectively behind him. "Stand behind me," he whispered in a gentle hush. No matter the circumstance, he vowed to shield her above all else. Instantly, she felt loved, and she obediently stood behind him. Her eyes alighted upon the binoculars he held, and she couldn't resist extending her hand to grab it. While peeking out from her shelter behind him, she brought the binoculars to her eyes to observe the approaching boat. As her gaze swept across the deck, a mysterious figure caught her attention, standing tall and waving in their direction. Intrigued, she hastily brought the binoculars to her eyes, and her beautiful orbs widened with astonishment. "Tommy?" Jasper's attention shifted to her, his eyes searching for answers as he inquired, "Do you know him?" A tranquil exhale of relief escaped Willow's lips as she responded, "He's the persistent suitor who never gives up." As her words reached Winston's ears, relief washed over him. "Are you sure you know the person on the boat? We have nothing to fear as long as they harbor no ill intentions toward us." "I know him, but I don't know how he found his way here." Jasper's eyes narrowed as he fixated on the boat. "Is this man the pursuer that goes after Willow?" After a mere 20 minutes, the boat finally docked, and a man emerged from the deck, overflowing with excitement. It was Tommy Donovan, the affluent heir who had ardently pursued Willow for a relentless 3 years, undeterred by her steadfast refusals. "Willow, it's really you. I thought my information was wrong." "Haha. I finally found you, he exclaimed happily as he approached. With warm enthusiasm, he turned to greet the rest of the team members. Hello, everyone. I'm Willow's friend, so you don't need to be afraid. As he approached her, a mere 3 feet separating them, a sudden presence loomed tall, interposing between the two friends. An urge to gently push the obstructing figure aside arose within him. Hey, move out of the way. I'm saying hello to my friend. However, as Tommy confidently anticipated the person would yield with a slight push, he was taken aback when the figure stood unwavering. His irritation surged, and he looked up to confront the obstruction. To his astonishment, he was momentarily dumbfounded. Why is there such a handsome man beside Willow? His appearance threatens mine, his physique is better, and his aura is stronger. Who are you? Who is this guy, Willow? He inquired, a hint of annoyance trickling through his words. Tommy, what are you doing here in the middle of the night? Willow's irritation was palpable, for her team members had been roused from their slumber, the tranquility shattered by the man's unexpected presence. At her words, Tommy immediately looked somewhat aggrieved. I came because I was worried about you. Look, I brought a boatload of supplies for you. I've got whatever you need. I even brought a chef and bodyguards to protect you. She gazed at him in stunned silence, her words caught in her throat. I don't need them, thank you. Now please leave and don't interfere with my work. I came all this way. How can you just ask me to leave so easily? I promise not to affect your work. Just treat me as an invisible person or even air. Then, he walked past Jasper and looked at Willow pleadingly. Willow, please don't chase me away. You have no idea how hard it was for me to catch up to you. As she pondered the situation, she realized that chasing him away would only be futile and a wasted effort. Ultimately, she reluctantly allowed him to stay because he brought the essential supplies they desperately needed. All right, since you're here, you can stay, she conceded. What's more, he arrived with a contingent of formidable bodyguards. Should we encounter any pirate ships, their presence alone would be enough to strike fear into those pirates. At this moment, Jasper looked at Willow with an indescribable gaze while Tommy was overjoyed. I knew you wouldn't chase me away. She then turned to Winston and said, gather everyone and ask them to return to rest. There's no need to panic. All right. I was worried about sending someone for supplies, but now that your friend has brought them, we can rest assured. After saying this, he gathered everyone and asked them to return to sleep while leaving a few on guard around the perimeter. Willow, where will you sleep? As Tommy laid eyes upon the inviting tents, a surge of hope washed over him, envisioning a warm welcome and a space reserved just for him. It's too late tonight, Tommy. You and your people can sleep on the boat, she said. It's okay. I'm not tired. I'll stay here and keep watch for you. His heart fluttered with such intense excitement that sleep eluded him. The anticipation of the impending journey, where he could finally be by her side day and night, consumed his every thought. It will surely be romantic, and we can leave many beautiful memories. With a few strides, Willow distanced herself from the crowd, and like a shadow, Jasper trailed behind. Unexpectedly, he gently clasped her wrist, wordlessly guiding her to a serene boulder at the edge. Dazed for a moment, she eventually acquiesced and trailed behind him. In hushed tones, he urged her, chase him away. We don't need any extra people here. He's my friend, and it's too late tonight. I'll persuade him to leave in the morning, she replied, her eyes lifting to meet him. After hearing Willow's reply, Jasper sighed inexplicably as he uttered, okay. They must leave tomorrow morning. In a moment of revelation, her eyes sparkled with intrigue, and she leaned in closer, whispering, are you jealous? In an instant, a faint blush danced across his handsome features, revealing a fleeting moment of embarrassment. He quickly averted his gaze, mustering a soft-spoken reply, no. Her eyes widened with surprise as she blinked, and then she couldn't resist asking again, "Really?" This time, a deafening silence followed, broken only by the sudden appearance of Tommy. Curious, he turned to Willow and asked, "What are you two talking about?" With a serene smile, she uttered, "Nothing." Then, curiosity sparkled in her eyes as she inquired, "How did you manage to locate me?" "Through my network of information, of course. Anyway, that's not important. The important thing is that I finally found you," Tommy said with a contented grin, glancing at Jasper with a hint of disapproval. "Who is he?" "He's the chief consultant of our archaeological team," she introduced. As Tommy gazed at Jasper, an instinctual sense of rivalry surged within him, a primal force that seemed inherently masculine. He couldn't help but perceive Jasper as a formidable threat, exerting an invisible yet palpable pressure upon him. Actually, Tommy was also good-looking, and he came from a wealthy family with assets worth billions. Yet, amidst this glamour, his heart's desire for Willow remained an open secret within their social circle. From the instant his gaze met hers, a bold declaration of affection escaped his lips, heedless of the occasion or onlookers. She couldn't shake him off since they had been classmates from high school to college. Eventually, she accepted his unwavering pursuit, opting for peaceful coexistence and embracing him as a steadfast friend. Tommy was about to approach Willow, eager to share the captivating tales of his journey in catching up with her.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.